applause. That was so much fun. Thanks for staying with us. We're going to have a little 10-minute Q&A with Nicolas King. So help me welcome. Here comes Nicolas right now.
I'm here. I made it.
How was the ride?
It was great. I'm in the same. It's got the same backdrop, so it's good. It's good. How are you, Susan?
I'm doing okay.
So nice to see you.
What, dear?
I said it's so nice to see you. I missed that Shayna Punnam, and I can't squish it in person, so virtually we'll have to do.
Well, thank you so very much, kind sir. We just watched 20 glorious minutes of you singing to us, and you know, Nicolas made this video special, especially for us, and really, thank you for doing that. I loved your choice of material. I loved your arrangements. What fun that was. But I have to ask you a question. I mean, you know, in my mind, I could hear all of the applause and the cheers from our audience. And I'm sure you can too. But how is it singing for a camera rather than a live audience? What do you think about? How do you do that?
Well, it's almost similar to playing in South Florida. You do it, and you hope that if you get one or two claps, then you know it's a hit. You know, no, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. But regardless, it's different. But you know, there's such a tangible energy that's given to you when you're in front of an audience, when you're with people. You know, and you learn about their sense of humor. You learn what they like, what they don't like, what they react to, and it's a whole different ballgame. You know, as suppose when you're doing it in a studio or in a room or a hall or something. It's a bit different, but I think knowing that we're all in the same boat right now, and that the viewers that are viewing right now, and you and other people, we're all in our homes, and it makes it feel less sterile and makes it feel more connected than it would normally.
I can understand that. And also, as you said, you sort of know your audience. So in a sense, you sort of expect, or, you know, you kind of could feel what their reactions might be, you know, during a performance.
Yeah. I mean, every audience is different, you know, but I think the main thing is just to not get, you know, disappointed when you don't hear the applause, because you know that they're maybe doing it in their head back at their home, you know, and that's what makes you feel okay, I think.
We were doing it. We were having a great time. I mean, your enthusiasm was great, and again, those arrangements. So let me ask you, what was your first performance in front of it? Was it the Sally Jesse Raphael show?
Yes. Well, that was my first time on national television. I had been on television maybe a year before on my grandmother's television show. Angela Bakari had a local show here in Rhode Island that went out to Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So I'd done that, and I had performed in front of people before, but Sally was the very first national television appearance for sure.
Well,
I remember it. I really do remember it. That's
do?
Yes.
I mean,
100%. Not 100%, but a good amount of percent. I remember what that weird indoor-outdoor carpeting on the stage felt like. I remember the dressing room. It was mauve. I remember that. And I remember those kids, you know. I mean, I was sitting next to Alex D. Linz, who went on to do Home Alone and a whole bunch of movies, and that little girl Joanna, who played Annie on Broadway. And I remember those kids. You know, they were just. It's a very, very tangible memory that I've got of that.
But I guess what I want to know is, to what do you attribute that confidence at that age? What was going on? I mean, what do you attribute that to?
Passion, I think. It's I felt it. I don't know. It's one of those things that I don't think you can learn that in school. I think you either have a love for the craft or you don't. And I always had it. It was something that I just gravitated to. You know, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother as a kid when my parents would be working, and my grandmother, like I said, is a singer, and instead of going to grandma's house, bake cookies and watch TV, when I went to grandma's house, it meant getting in the car and schlepping up to a gig and hanging out on the bandstand while grandma went to work, you know. So it's always been around me. So when it came time for me to be, you know, expressive and verbal and let it out, it just was sort of a no-brainer. It just was something that I did without really even thinking about it.
So is that why, I mean, I know you like to sing the American Songbook. Do you think that's why? Is that your favorite type of music, or is there other music that you like? Oh, now we have a few hellos, so let me just Ronit, hello, how are you? Dominic, Totino, it's great to see you. Michelle, Michelle Rodriguez says she remembers that Sally episode.
She does?
Unbelievable.
Well, that's great.
And DJ, we see you there. Of course, DJ, one of the really talented performers in the program, Carol's Kings. We had Carol's Kings, the show, just in the fall, this past fall, and DJ knocked it out of the park. So DJ, we're glad you're with us. Okay, so we do have a question from Ronit. I'm going to put it right up there. Did you ever have singing lessons at a young age? You have a great voice.
Thank you. The answer is no, I never did. Again, I keep going back to my grandmother because that was someone that I spent a lot of time with as a kid. She gave singing lessons. So when I would be spending time at her house, I was listening to her give lessons to other people. So even though she and I never had a sit-down vocal one-on-one, I can't deny that I probably picked it up through osmosis. It's when you're sitting eating your cereal and you hear, your grandmother talk about the mask, and chest voice and head voice and all this stuff. I think it entered me through osmosis, but we never had a single sit down one-on-one vocal lesson. No.
And you would say that the American Songbook is possibly your favorite type of music to sing?
I think it's my favorite to perform because it has so much character in it. Every song from that genre is really like a little movie. It's really built around a character because a lot of those songs were originally written for films or Broadway. So they have a whole storyline built in it. And I think as an actor, I enjoy getting to sing that because I can inhabit the character of that song for a few minutes, But it doesn't mean I don't love, pop and R&B and all this other stuff, but it doesn't give you the chance to get into a character as much as the stuff from the songbook.
Well, then let me ask you a question. Do you think that there's more legitimate stage work in your future? I mean, do you Broadway work? And I know you've done a ton of Broadway. Is that something you still want to do or like to do or would do? Or do you just want to focus on your singing career? And I shouldn't say just, that's enough, but your singing career and your albums and so forth. How do you feel about that?
I would do it in a nanosecond. I think the reason why I sort of took a back seat in that was because I reached the age where the parts weren't plenty for people my age when I was, a normal teenager. And so I didn't want to just sit around and do nothing. So that's why I decided to start trying to make money with music and try to perform. And I just really fell in love with everything that goes into it. But, oh no, as soon as Broadway's back up and running and the audition circuit is back up on its feet, that's exactly where I'll be.
Nicholas, do you get nervous when you go on those auditions? I mean,
of course.
Yeah,
of course, that never goes away. But you also, it's a nervous of, I just really want to make sure I'm doing a good job, because I learned very early on, my mom and dad, really helped me learn from early on that if you don't get the part, it's okay. It's not a knock against you. It's just maybe the kid, 2 seats down, they want a kid that is blonde or they want a kid that's taller or, whatever. So it's not a personal thing. And I think that sort of helps alleviate those nerves, but I always want to do a good job.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know because, it certainly, it makes it possible for you to do so many things. And we don't know how things are going to progress. So you really have to, be able to take on virtually any type of roles that become available. Virtually, maybe
unintended.
Exactly. It may be exactly the way we go. It's funny you talk about these auditions, and I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but I do have a few other hellos. Patricia, hello. Joan Stagg, we're so happy you're here with us.
I miss you. So I'll stay with you whenever you want.
Okay. We do have a great question from if you notice the last name. There is a relationship there. My sister, she wants to know, Adele, if you could play any role on Broadway, what would it be? Great question.
I think the most realistic, I think the most realistic role that I could do if it would ever come back to Broadway, would be Jack Kelly in Newsies, because he is
Oh,
he's
yes.
a ragtag. They're a ragtag group of guys, and he's the ringleader, and he's full of all sorts of, gusto. And I love the character. I think he's wise. He's immature. He's a leader. He's silly. He's all the cool stuff, and I would love to do that. And he doesn't have to dance that much, which is a plus for me because I'm not really a dancer, so it'd be perfect.
That is such a great role. Nicholas, you're bringing me back to the days when I used to go on a lot of auditions, and I don't know if people understand that process and how difficult it is. I remember, I remember seeing a notice for an audition, for example, of a Bette Midler type performer. They were looking for someone with energy, personality, a certain body shape. And I think to myself, my goodness, someone who could sing, someone who could dance. And I thought, well, gee, it seems to have my name all over it. And I would go on the auditions, and there would be 500 other gals who looked just like me. I mean, I
will say that the one thing that I have in my pocket, which is kind of rare, but it's the same tool that either hinders me or helps me, is my height. Because you can't tell from here, but I cap out at a good 5'2". So the roles that I can go out for are not really leading roles generally, because a lot of the breakdowns have 5'8" and up, which is kind of silly, but it's just the truth. So it's a pain in the neck for me, because it makes me have to pass on a lot of scripts that I would normally be very interested in. But it makes me the perfect candidate when those roles do come around that are made for those shorter, lower to the ground people.
I totally get it. I mean, you'll never find me playing the ingenue or the,
I could never play, the Phantom or Javert or any of these people. It's not my. I don't have the look.
We get the fun parts, Nicholas. We get the comic reliefs. We get the characters.
Exactly.
I mean, Joan has a question. Joan wants to know: do you play any musical instruments?
I do, Joan. Hi, how are you? I play piano, and I also play, oddly enough, the ukulele, which I had to pick up for a Broadway show I did with Tom Selleck a few years ago called 1,000 Clowns, and I had to play for about 35 seconds. But it's an instrument that has stuck with me in my life, and Tom bought me a beautiful Martin ukulele for our opening night, and I play it all the time. I love it. So ukulele and piano.
Ukulele is, it's very in right now. Now it's so in to play the ukulele.
It's like Betty White. It had a big comeback.
It did. Okay, we have another comment. DJ
Bucciarelli.
That's right.
What a good old Italian guy.
He's one of our Carol's Kings, a fabulous singer, a fabulous performer.
That's the one we're talking about. But what a good last name. God, I'm so jealous.
Yeah. And how could you... Nicholas, your last name is King. You can't get much better than that.
Well, this is true. This is very true. But
it looks like DJ's reaching out. Maybe you guys can do a duet sometime.
Yes, 100%. Why not? I would love it. Any friend of Susan's is a friend of mine. Anyone who's named Bucciarelli. This is a good thing. Well, because see, I'm Italian, and whenever I go visit my cousins in Italy, I can't. They'll ask me, or when meet people from Italy, what's your last name? King, and they go King. Ma che cos'è questo, King? They don't understand it. So Bucciarelli would be much easier to say.
Nicholas, I just have to tell one really sweet story. Nicholas is one of our favorite entertainers, and he's so wonderful. He takes some really challenging gigs that we give him, and we appreciate it. So he travels all over to entertain many of the seniors throughout Queens.
Oh, that's really fun for me, by the way. I enjoy that so much.
They love you so much. I mean, I remember that one in particular where they were trying to feed you, and but my favorite thing was
I gained 15 pounds after that gig. So.
Yeah, right.
Thanks to you.
We went to this, so it was a fabulous senior center. I think it was in Middle Village, and I didn't know this, but the members there were predominantly Italian, and I didn't know.
Yeah, there were it was 95% Italian and like 5 Chinese people in the back eating lasagna going, what is this? That's exactly what was happening.
Well, so, so I introduce you and you get up and you immediately get the sense, I think there's a lot of Italian speakers in the audience here tonight. And you broke out into, it was one Italian song after the next. Talk about thinking on your feet. You and I had never discussed it. You were brilliant. They gave you a standing ovation. How wonderful that you were able to be so flexible, with your material.
Well, I also realized that a lot of those people too, when you get younger Italians, they speak English, but a lot of those in that particular center really didn't speak English, was not their first language, and they didn't really understand English, especially in that space when it's noisy. So I figured if I talk to them in their dialect, in their language, they'll know exactly what. And as soon as I started in my dialect, it's like the whole room went, they were thrilled, and that was really fun. And then I ate I had enough food leftovers to last me all month.
That was
perfect.
It was so joy. It was such a joy to see, and it was so joyous for them. Nicholas, we kept you more than 10 minutes. I just want to make a note.
I don't mind one bit. I'm enjoying this. I've been in 4 walls for the last month, so this is thrilling for me.
Well, we have to have you back. So this was so much fun. This was really our inaugural program, live program.
Well, I should have brought out the champagne. I didn't.
Believe me, I'm going to start drinking immediately when this is over.
Well, in quarantine hours, I think happy hour should start around 3, or even 2. Even noon. Let's make it noon. Who cares?
Nobody will know. I just want to mention that, of course, these are trying times for everyone, and we do not expect miracles. But of course, as the theaters are not open presently, and the artists are not performing live presently. If you are able and if you feel moved to make a small donation, nothing is too small. You can donate.
Or too big.
Well, that's a good point. Nicholas, right there, you'll see it's Venmo at Renzi and Nico. And then if you want to donate something to QPAC, we are going to be bringing you these programs hopefully on a weekly basis. You can go to visitqpac.org, and right there it says support the arts. So that's our program for today. Thank you for being with us. Nicholas, we love you. Should we try to do a kiss, Nicholas?
Yes. Now, we tried this in the test. Now, I think I got to go that way.
I go this way.
Ready? 1, 2. Adorable, fellas. Get the cameras out. Here we go. Still not the worst kiss I've ever had, so this is good.
So strange, but nonetheless, I'll take it. Thanks again. We love you. We'll have you back. We'll have you back here. We'll have you back live. Be well. Everyone be well. Be safe. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. It's happy